Guys, so basic mama drama here. I kind of decided vlogging in the bathroom was not a good idea. I look really bad today, so please no judging. I just got out of the shower, got my Star Wars shirt on, I got the baby bump, just kind of relaxing, and I look really bad, so I'm kind of over that already. So today I kind of wanted to have like a bio video, kind of like a venting video. I kind of yesterday did kind of like a sit down, and I was thinking like my first video was basically like in the bathroom, kind of like just kind of like doing my own thing, kind of like first video to like upload, and it was a failure. It just kind of was awkward lighting, like a lot of double chinning, like a lot of really bad angles, and my hair is just, I'm over it. Okay, so today I kind of want to do a bio video, kind of talk about me a little bit, kind of like introduce myself. You know, a lot of YouTubers, they start out basically wanting to talk about funny things, or they go viral by talking about, you know, silly things, or like, you know, Trisha did the video of like do dogs have brains and stuff like that. And, you know, I sat in front of a tablet one day, and I was thinking like, what can I do that would be funny, that would catch people and like want them to come watch my videos? And there was just nothing. Like, I just sat here thinking for like an hour, like, okay, should I do a funny video of like me falling? Should I do a funny video of like me doing this? And I'm just like, oh, here's one, you know, like runs naked through Walmart. No, I have kids. Like, cross that out. Like, get arrested. Like, wrote that down. And then like, I was sitting here thinking like, okay, maybe a makeup tutorial. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, I'm no Nikki tutorial, so this is definitely gonna look like Cruella de Vil or something. And I'm just like, what do I do to start a channel? And I just like was dumbfounded. Like, I just couldn't think of anything. And I was scrolling through just articles like about baby stuff, and kind of like preparing for my C-section that's planned in March. And I just started like thinking like, you know, what should I do, like as far as, you know, like maybe a vlog on my C-section, kind of like talk about maybe like, you know, like that I'm like scared, like it's a planned C-section, like how to prepare for it. And then I get to this article, and it was like basically like it said like, are you a basic mom? And I was like, okay, you know, like I'm gonna read this, like that sounds okay. And just the first line that just really caught me is this is basically, it's a basic mom blog is what it's called, and it's basicmomblog.com. And it says, are you a basic mom? And it says, by now most of us have heard of the basic bitch. If you are like me, you had to hear about it from your husband's gay coworker, because you are elbow deep in diapers and bubble guppies and making sure your daughter's red folder is in her backpack so she doesn't have a meltdown in school tomorrow, which means you are out of the loop. Okay, so right there it caught me, because I don't have my daughter yet. I'm having her in March, but my son does go to school, and he does have a blue folder that has to be due every Friday for homework. And right there I was thinking, okay, I'm basic. Like, it hit me, and I was like, I am so basic. So, out of the loop that you asked your childless friends on a rare night out what turned down for what means, like 3 months after it even mattered. But I digress. Back to the basic bitch. I know I am supposed to run from the label, but honestly, I wish I were hip enough to be a basic bitch. I wish I had the time and the money to invest in myself and in a basic materialized things. Instead, I spend most of my time and money on the little human beings I am raising. But I hate being left out of a cultural phenomenon. Since becoming a mom, I'm always feeling left out, so I guess maybe I'm a basic mom. Right there describes it all. She basically goes on to give 16 signs of why you're a basic mom. Not having money for pumpkin spice lattes, You can't remember the last time you posted something on Facebook. You would love to have a Sex in the City marathon, but you can't sit down long enough to watch Netflix. Speaking of leggings, you swore you would never wear them. That is, until you tried on a pair while you were pregnant and realized that leggings are the greatest things ever. There's just so many things in this list, and I got to number 8, and I was like, oh my god, I'm a basic mom. I don't have play dates with friends with kids. I don't have pumpkin spice lattes every Thursday. I don't go to lunch every Wednesday with Tiffany and so, and it's one of those things where you're so wrapped up in basically being pregnant and being a mom that you're kind of lost. You're kind of like, okay, this is everyday routine for me. I get up, I get the lunches out of the fridge, I get my husband's lunch out of the fridge, I give him a kiss goodbye, my son gets on the bus, and then I have that day to myself. But we live in a place where we have no internet and no cable, and it's 25 to 30 minutes out of town, and I'm just like, it's the same movies and the same TV shows over and over again that I'm watching on TV. And it's like, I'm so basic. That just keeps hitting me. I'm basic. And it's like, seriously, okay, I remember the days before I had kids. We were going out to, get coffee. We were going to, nightclubs, for kids and stuff in our town because there was nothing to do. And we were just driving around, yelling at people, hey, vato, what's up? This one time, my friend and I yelled at this guy. He was, I think homeless, which I feel bad now. But he, had a backpack, and, he was, riding this bike, and we, yelled at him, and we're like, hey, that's my bike. And, I was just joking, it was funny, we were young and dumb. And he, stops in the middle of the street and is like, the hell it is! And I was like, okay, floor it. I was going to go to the ATM over there, but dude's over there. So, those kind of days are, out the window. Those are, past memories to think about. But if we want to get into pregnancy brain and, having kids, those memories kind of, come to you as you're thinking of something. So the thing that I do want to talk about is, along with me and who I am, I was born and raised in Montana. A lot of people think Montana, cowboys, horses, farms. That's not all the case. Most of the state is that, but a lot of the state is bigger cities. I was born and raised here. My parents moved here when I was, not even conceived yet. And they had me, and basically my mom and I, we would go back to Pennsylvania and visit our family every year. My dad would kind of keep things locked down at the house, and me and my mom would fly back and visit her family for a couple months in the summer and then come back. And when I was 9, my mom decided to move to Pennsylvania for a year and decided that she didn't want to come back. She wanted to be with her family. And so my parents separated, and I've been moving all over the place since I was 9. I have been to almost every state on the east side, and I've been to Montana and Oregon and some of those states, but I have not had a stable house for the last, 15 years. And it's just one of those things where it sucks because right now we're in that bind where we haven't really had a stable house ourselves due to crap landlords or crap rentals. And so, it's the main thing that kind of surrounds me is at this very moment, a goal for me is I want to be a homemaker, and I want to have a stable home for me and my kids. And especially since I'm having another baby, my husband and I finally have decided that we're gonna look into a better rental and just kind of stick things out there and have the 3 bedrooms for us and and for our kids, and just kind of make it happen. And so about, me growing up, my parents separating, I went through basically the basic bullying in school. People called me fat and ugly, which I wasn't fat or ugly. And I got picked on a lot because I was the class clown. I tried to be funny, I tried to be outspoken, and no one liked it, at all. And so it's just, I mean, bullying wasn't as big of a deal back then as it is today, because now a lot more kids are getting more outspoken about being bullied, and they're doing horrible things about it, like suicide and such like that. And back then it wasn't really that way. It was more like you just kind of handled it and didn't deal with like going home and like handling it yourself in a negative way. You know, I basically made no friends in school, like, that I could really count on. You know, my family, they were always busy off doing like their own thing, so I didn't have like a lot of family time, you know, like with my family. Or, you know, we would do like Kennywood sometimes, or we would do like family picnics or camping, but that was like summer stuff. Like, we did, you know, like obviously like holiday things like Christmas dinners and stuff like that, but I mean, I didn't grow up like super net close like with my family. My dad's side of the family, I never really got to really meet them and actually spend time with them. I only know pretty much my mom's side of the family. So going on about staying on topic here, going on about growing up, I finally landed back in Montana when I was 16, and I started going to school at an alternative school because I couldn't focus in a regular school, just with like all the bullying and all of the drama and all of the crazy stuff. Like, kids didn't look at it as, okay, we're here for an education. They looked at it as, okay, we're here to make friends and be rude and be judgmental. And so I decided to take myself out of that negativity, and I talked to my dad about possibly doing like a alternative school or a homeschooling, and he told me that if I could find something, he would be happy to put me in there. And I did. I found an alternative school, and I went there, and I got amazing grades for 10th grade, well, 9th grade all the way to 12th grade, and I graduated and I got my diploma. And so since then, I've kind of been bouncing around, kind of like making friends here, making friends there. I did a little bit of like online role playing for a while with like anime stuff. You know, I did a lot of like Skyping with like people in other countries. I had a couple friends like in Italy and in the UK, and it was pretty fun to actually meet people somewhere else and actually talk to them and kind of get like a pen pal kind of thing going. And so I met those couple friends, and then basically I had my son, and you know, I got with my husband, and basically there's a little part there where I went back to Pennsylvania and kind of was trying to figure out my own thing, but I came back and decided that I wanted to be with my husband, and we have been working things out ever since. It's going on almost 3 years now that we've been back together, and I decided here 2 years ago that I wanted to figure out why I was having issues with my menstrual cycles. And I went to the doctor, and I found out that I had polycystic ovary syndrome. And so I was getting a lot of cysts and a lot of nasty pains and not getting a menstrual cycle. And that was one thing that really, really put me down and made me feel very self-conscious, because I went from like 180 pounds in 2012 when I had my son. After I had him, in a year, I gained a bunch of weight, and I got up to 240 pounds. And so the thing was, though, I was working out, I was trying to eat different. Like, I can't do the completely like crazy like soy and organic diet. Like, I just can't do it. But I put myself in that situation where I was like, okay, I have a son to take care of. Like, you know, I'm a single mom, and I was a single mom at the time. And I wanted to basically be healthy for my son and healthy for myself. And I just started working out and like trying to lose weight, and I would lose about 10 pounds. That was it. And I would like go to Planet Fitness, and I'd work out, and I'd start doing like fruit smoothies and drinking a lot of water and walking, and I got a Fitbit, and like I was pumped. Like, I got a lot of stuff ready, and it just didn't happen. It would be 10 pounds and then maybe 1 pound here, 1 pound there. Like, it just didn't happen. And so when my husband and I got back together, we started talking about family and having another baby, and I said, I want to wait a year and I want to see how the relationship goes. And so the first thing that I looked into was my menstrual cycles, and when I went in for my appointment, she told me that I had polycystic ovary syndrome, and I had went from 240 pounds to 289 pounds from polycystic ovaries. So we sat down and we had a serious talk, and she said, here's the things that you need to try to do. She said, I want to try to get you on a birth control, and she said, I want you to try to take metformin because we are a little bit worried that you're going to be diabetic. And she said, you're pretty healthy, you know, for your age, you know, your heart is pretty strong, but this is what we need to do. So I started taking birth control, and I started taking the metformin, and in about 2 months, I lost about 20 pounds. And I just kept losing and losing and losing the weight. And I got all the way down from 289 to 225 in like 5 to 6 months. So I started eating different. I started drinking a lot more water. I cut out like pop and chips. And it had been a year. We had tried a couple different birth controls. We had tried the metformin and basically just a lot of exercising. And my husband finally said, okay, you know, I want to try for a baby. And I said, I don't know if I can, just because like I'm not ovulating. And so I went into the doctor and we talked about Clomid, which is clomiphene. And they said basically that if I was to take this, after I had started a menstrual cycle, 3 days in, you take it for 5 days, and then you track your ovulation, all that kind of stuff. And I tried that for 5 cycles and it didn't work. And normally after 5 cycles, they start telling you, you know, no more, like we're done, like this is too much, like your ovaries can't handle it. And so I took a break for a little bit and I took birth control, and because without it I wouldn't have a menstrual cycle. And 2 months later I was like, I went back and I said, okay, I really want to try something else. Like, what other options do we have? And she said, well, we have one other option, and then we're going to have to do, not an IVF, but the artificial insemination. And it was pretty pricey, and it's not guaranteed. And so I said, okay, well, what's the second option? And she said that there's a pill called Femera. It's for breast cancer. And she said, you take it exactly like the Clomid. You have your menstrual cycle, and on your 3rd day, you take the Clomid for 5 days, and then you track your ovulation. Well, the first cycle failed. The second cycle, I kind of gave up and I didn't track because I was like really sad. And like, I was like, okay, I'm not going to have a baby. Like, this isn't going to happen for me. And so the second cycle, we had got caught up in like camping and like floating the river and like doing a bunch of stuff. And one day I'm just like, wait a minute. I'm like, what day is this? And my husband's like, and I don't even remember what day he said. It was like the 15th or something. And I said, okay. I said, when was my last menstrual cycle? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, you're the woman, you're supposed to be keeping track of that. And I'm like, really? Like, you're on board for this baby making stuff, but you can't even like help me? And that's probably too much to ask. And so I went back in and I looked at the calendar and I had marked the day that I had taken the first pill, and I counted and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Like, I was supposed to possibly ovulate this day, but I didn't, or maybe I did. I don't know. I wasn't tracking. And I was like 36 days instead of like 30 when I should have started my period. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, okay. So I like went running out of the house, and we were staying with my dad at the time, and he was like, where are you going? And I'm like, oh, to the store, like I'll be back. And I come out to the truck and I said, babe, we have to go to Walmart. I have to get a pregnancy test. And he said, why? Like, what do you really think you're pregnant? Like, are we wasting money on another test? I'm like, it's not wasting money, bro. Like, this is like the trial and error, like with trying to make a baby. And so it's like 8 o'clock at night. I had him take me all the way up to Walmart, and I got the clear blue non-digital sticks. And I come home and I had a little window like in the bathroom, and because we were staying with my dad and I didn't want my dad to know that we were trying to have a baby, I slid the box of pregnancy tests in the bathroom window because the screen was busted out, and I ran around the front. My dad's like, oh, that was fast. I'm like, oh yeah, we just got a couple drinks. And I like go in the bathroom, lock the door, and I had my designated pee cup that I used for every time. And I peed, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I should wait till morning. No, I need to do this now. And I stuck the stick in, and for the 10 seconds, kind of swished it around, pulled it out, put the lid on, and it came up instantly positive. And I'm like, okay. So I put the pee test in the window. I go running outside. I grab the pee test out of the window and I go running to my husband's truck and I'm like, this is positive. And of course my husband, he's like, well, I'm not gonna believe that it's positive until we have a doctor's note saying that it's positive. So I run back in, I take the other test, I slide it through the window, I come back out, I give him that one. I'm like, there's no way 2 tests can be wrong. He's like, still, I'm gonna like wait until a doctor's note says like that's the case. So we jump in the truck and I'm like, take me to the ER room. I'm gonna tell them that I don't feel good, I don't know what's going on, and they're gonna take the blood test because I need to know. Like we had tried to have a baby when we were together before for 5 years. Or 4 years. We had tried to have a baby then, and it just wasn't happening. I didn't know that I had polycystic ovaries, so this was like really important to me. So we get up to the ER room, and I'm like, okay, I don't feel good, like something's wrong, like I'm kind of bleeding, which I kind of was, like there was a little bit of spotting, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me, like I should have had a period, I have polycystic ovaries, and the kid at the check-in was like, he's like, so you're here because you have a period? And I'm like, no, I'm not here because I have a period. I'm here because I think something's going on. Like, I have polycystic ovaries. I don't know if I'm pregnant. And he's like, so, let me get this straight. You're here because you think you're pregnant. No. I'm here because, and my husband's like, let's just go. Like, Dingus isn't figuring it out here. And he was like, this kid was like scratching his head. And I'm like, but I can't wait. Like, I need to know now, like, if I'm pregnant. And my husband's like, well, like, he's like, patience, basically. So I go home, and I'm in bed, and I'm, like, thinking, like, okay, like, is there a little peanut in there? Is there not a little peanut in there? And so we're basically, like, over the next couple days, I had got a sore throat, and it was really bad. And we had gone to my husband's parents, which was where my registered doctor was, which was an hour away, because we stayed in a cabin at their house. And the doctor would not give me antibiotics for my sore throat. Like, it was worse than strep. Like, it sucked. And my throat was all hard, and it was, like, yellow in the back, and it hurt, like, really bad. And so we came back up to town to, like, because we had just kind of, like, spent the weekend down there. We came back up to town, and I went to the urgent care in town here. And I said, the guy will not give me antibiotics down there. Like, I don't know if I have strep. Like, he said he swabbed me, and then I don't, but it hurts really bad. And he said, okay, well, I'll prescribe you antibiotics. And he, like, did a swab, too. And, like, right when he went to write the prescription for antibiotics, I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, I don't know if I'm pregnant. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that, like, I can only take, like, certain antibiotics. And he's like, yeah, if you're pregnant, we'll just give you amoxicillin. And so they came in, they took my blood, and they came in like 25 minutes later, and they're like, yeah, this is definitely positive, you're pregnant. And I, like, looked at my husband, and I'm like, wham, I told you. Like, the pregnancy test was not lying, especially 2. So we've been on that journey ever since, and it's been a lot of painful experiences. You know, it's like, as they say, for sure, you know, when you are pregnant with your second, like, you definitely feel everything, all the stretching, all the pulling. My son was a C-section, so my uterus is, like, really thin, like, where that C-section scar is. So it's kind of really at a stressful moment here for me of, like, having another C-section and, like, knowing that I'm gonna get, like, cut open, and, you know, knowing that basically, like, I'm gonna be, like, planned to go in and get cut open. It's kind of, like, freaking me out a little bit, because I never wanted to do that. I actually wanted to VBAC, like, this pregnancy, but it's been a lot of stress for me, just, like, with my appointments. Like, I was having complications in the beginning, like, where the placenta wasn't attached to the wall, and, baby wasn't growing right, and, like, now everything's going great, everything's a lot better, but it's just, it was really stressful for, like, the first, like, 3 to 4 months. It was a lot of, like, bed rest, and, like, a lot of, like, you know, don't do crazy major stuff, and so, you know, now it's basically been a lot better. It's been a lot, you know, more relaxed, and so I can definitely say, for having, like, a C-section planned and knowing that it's going to happen, it's very stressful. And I've been reading a lot of blogs from other girls that have been talking about, like, a C-section being planned, and, like, they don't know what to do, and they're stressing out from it, and it's just, like, I totally get that. Like, it's intense when you don't have, like, your little, like, security circle of people that you think should be, like, in your life. It's, like, really hard to, like, cope with the fact that you know that you're gonna have support from your spouse, but it's like, you know, for most people, like, their mom or their sister is, like, their best friend, and, like, they have it totally figured out, and, like, you know, they're there as a, like, a support team, and I don't have that. Like, I mean, my spouse is definitely good enough. My husband, I love him to death, but it's, like, I kind of wanted, like, a little more in my corner, like, in my circle, to, like, rev me on for the fight, and you know, it's like with the other part of that, hospitals are pretty strict with videoing and like having like a video going or like a feed going, like, so, you know, your family can like watch you have the baby. And since I'm having a C-section, like, that's the other part of it, is like with my first, my mom was in Pennsylvania and she had a scheduled plane ticket to come out to be with the baby and me and be there when I had him, but I ended up having to have him early because I had preeclampsia and they had to take him via C-section. So this time I had the option to VBAC, but with the possibilities of like my uterus being really thin and everything, I was really nervous to VBAC just because there's so many complications that come into play with it. And, you know, like the nurse said, there's a 1 in 50 chance of rupturing and like having problems, and my luck, I'd be that one, just because my luck is like horrible. So a planned C-section this time, like, I had a traumatic experience the first time, with no help, you know, they kind of rushed, you know, I felt them cutting in, like, a whole bunch of stuff. My doctor has, my doctor's a different doctor this time. She has ensured that basically I'm going to be able to be relaxed, and they're going to walk me through it slowly. It's planned. You know, I can have essential oils and music going, and so this time, you know, it's going to be a lot less stressful, but it's still pretty scary. So I've kind of rambled on about pregnancy, and this was supposed to be a venting video on a whole bunch of other stuff, but yeah, I kind of gave an intro of like me, you know, my life, what's going on now with pregnancy. So that about wraps it up today for pregnancy and planned C-sections and my pregnancy story and my success story for PCOS and polycystic ovary problems. So thank you guys for watching this video, and watch for more videos.